HBO. Simply the best movies.
A Saturday night of knockout entertainment tonight on HBO. At 7, two champions, two great live fights. World Championship Boxing. Taylor versus Garcia and Norris versus Curry. And at 9, the best movies. Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte explode in the premiere of Another 48 Hours. Then at 10:45, Kevin Bacon tests the limits of justice in the tense thriller, Criminal Law. It's a knockout Saturday night tonight on HBO.
The following is a special presentation of HBO Sports.
Here in the California desert, a late spring cold snap has again given way to triple-digit temperatures. And tonight in this Palm Springs oasis, the mercury may soar to a new level as we showcase two of boxing's hottest young stars. First, we'll take a look at the newest of new kids on the block, Terrible Terry Norris, unknown for the better portion of his career, despite having won the WBC Super Welterweight Championship. But on February 9, all that would change when Norris met a true boxing legend. On that evening, Father Time would finally catch up with the 34-year-old six-time world champion. And by night's end, the accolades belong to Norris, along with new recognition. Later, the action heats up again as we turn our attention to WBA welterweight champion Meldrick Taylor. Like Norris, Taylor is a stunningly athletic fighter with quick feet, quicker hands, and power to match. Against his most recent opponent, Aaron Davis, he captured his first welterweight belt and gained confidence in a new weight class, erasing any remaining questions from his lone loss to Julio Cesar Chavez. So from the heat of the California desert, we bring you two world title fights. Terry Norris versus Donald Curry, Meldrick Taylor versus Luis Garcia, live from Palm Springs, California.
Very wobbly in the center of the ring, takes another right hand, and now tries to fight off the ropes. Combination of the
Unbelievable! Unbelievable!
Tonight, World Championship Boxing comes to you live from Palm Springs as HBO Sports presents a boxing doubleheader. First, Terry Norris defends his WBC Super Welterweight title against Donald Curry. And then the WBA welterweight champion, Meldrick Taylor, takes center stage and puts his title on the line for the first time against undefeated challenger Luis Garcia, both title bouts scheduled for 12 rounds. In the shadow of the San Jacinto Mountains, on the floor of California's Coachella Valley, the temperature has receded to a relatively comfortable 86 degrees. This after earlier temperatures today of 102 at about 2 o'clock this afternoon. Poetically, in a tennis club, with the ring suspended at center court, boxing, with the potential for two brutal battles, comes for the first time to Palm Springs' lap of luxury. And hello again, everybody. I'm Jim Lampley. We welcome you to what could be a very exciting evening of boxing. Later on, you'll see Meldrick Taylor, regarded by many as one of the most dynamic performers in the sport, putting his welterweight championship up for grabs. But first, a look at the man who knocked off Sugar Ray Leonard, Terry Norris. And we turn now for wisdom to our expert commentator, George Foreman. George, here's the situation for Terry Norris. He goes into Madison Square Garden and beats a Sugar Ray Leonard, who is called by the experts a washed-up Sugar Ray. No way that he's anywhere close to his former self. Tonight he fights Donald Curry, of whom many experts will say the same thing, particularly if Norris beats him. Does a fighter like Terry Norris worry about whether he gets credit for his victories?
Every great fighter's had to face that same question. Rocky Marciano licking Joe Louis. Was he washed up? No. Joe Louis, a great boxer. And you're going to see in Terry Norris the same instincts, same kind of fighter. In the next 10 years, he may be a history-making fighter.
Well, he'll have to make a little bit of history tonight against Donald Curry to maintain the chance for that. And Curry was once regarded as a great fighter, just as Norris is seen to be a possible one now.
Curry's uptight. His wife told me for the first time she's ever seen him get upset at a weigh-in and shout something bad at the opponent.
So maybe
something's going to happen tonight.
Maybe we'll see a throwback to the old Donald Curry, and as Larry Merchant will tell us, Curry serves here not just as an opponent, but also he points the way to what you see as the theme of the evening.
Yes, and that's the fact that we have two young, very good champions in Norris and Taylor, both of whom coincidentally are 23 and 24 years old, the same age that Donald Curry was when he was regarded as the best fighter in the world, pound for pound, a worthy successor to Ray Leonard, who was retired at the time. But almost as soon as he climbed to the top of that high mountain, he fell off. So we're here to find out, in a sense, what kind of champions these champions will be. When they get to the top of the mountain, will they get dizzy? Will they get bored? Will they get distracted and fall off? Or will they be that kind of rare champion who defends it with his life, doesn't want to see anyone get up there and share it with him or push him off? And if they're not ready, if they're not that real kind of champion, one of these guys might knock somebody off.
Well, Meldrick Taylor, we already know a lot about. We've been watching him a great deal over the last couple of years, but this is our first chance to learn something about Terry Norris. 6 months ago, his name had never been uttered on an HBO telecast. Now he shares the marquee.
Do you know me? Most people don't even recognize me, even though I'm the super welterweight champion. And sent Sugar Ray Leonard into permanent retirement. That's why I carry my WBC championship belt. It's good all around the world and gives me the respect I deserve wherever I go.
The WBC championship belt.
I plan on never leaving the ring without it.
Born and raised in Lubbock, Texas, Terry Norris became a 4-time Texas Golden Gloves champ, but baseball had been his passion. In high school, the outfielder batted .417 and was eyeing a stint in college until a racial incident broke out during a game. When the brawl ended, Norris was standing. 3 opposing players were hospitalized, and the scouts had vanished. With baseball behind him, Terry joined his brother Orlin in California and began boxing full-time.
Baseball had become a way of life for me, you know. And, you know, it was real hard for me to throw baseball aside and to become a boxer. But my brother got me up here, and we worked on it together. You know, he knew that I could be, you know, the best, best junior middleweight in the world, best fighter in the world. And he kept pushing me to do this, pushing me to do that, as big brothers would do. And it turned out well.
But there have been obstacles along the way. Norris lost one bout by a controversial decision, another for hitting a fighter who was down, and his third defeat came in his first title shot. Norris dominated early on and was cruising toward victory. Then he got an unexpected wake-up call.
It showed me that anybody can be hurt. At that time, I hadn't been hurt. I hadn't been knocked out. Never been off my feet. I've been fighting for 14 years, never been hurt in my life. And you know, I was too cocky in that fight. And he showed me, that fight showed me that, you know, I am human.
Undaunted by the devastating loss, Norris redeemed himself 8 months later, crushing John Mugabe to become WBC super welterweight champion. It was a dream come true for the Norris family, especially for Orlin Sr., a club fighter who sacrificed his whole life for the betterment of his sons.
I can see where we have come down a long road, you know, and I see that we had made it to the top. We wanted to be world champions, you know, and I saw that they had potential to be world champions. But yeah, I felt great. Because that's what we were looking for.
A champion now to the boxing world, but a relative unknown to the general public. until Sugar Ray Leonard handpicked Terry Norris for his retirement party. With resounding speed and power, Norris embarrassed his idol for 12 brutal rounds, a victory that catapulted him into the national spotlight.
Give it up for Terry Norris.
I think the win has benefited me. People now recognize me. It's one of the things I boxed for, you know, to be recognized, to be known. You know, I love I love people, you know, knowing who I am. All that comes together by beating Ray.
For the time being, Terry Norris is king of the hill in his division. Tonight, we'll see if this shining star continues to rise. Do you know Terry Norris?
And we bring you back live to Palm Springs, California, where HBO Sports presents, once again, World Championship Boxing. The first of two main events this evening. Terry Norris defending his WBC 154-pound championship against former two-time world champion Donald Curry. And now at age 29, bent on redemption in a fight that he acknowledges is a crossroads battle for him, here is Donald Curry.
Jim, the first time I saw Donald Curry was his 6th or 7th professional fight. I called up a friend who was a boxing fanatic and said, I just saw a $10 million fighter. Well, he was a $2 or $3 million fighter, because somewhere along the way, he just got disinterested or bored. Almost as if he's one of those athletes who had too much imagination to retain his focus. But here he is, scratching and clawing 5 or 6 years later to get back to the top.
Well, you heard George Foreman say that there would be something in the air tonight. Donald Curry enters to the familiar Phil Collins strains. The record 33 wins, 4 losses, 24 KOs, but he was 25-0 before he met Lloyd Hunnigan in Atlantic City, and that started the downslide. In the last 12 fights, 8 victories, 4 losses. He's been knocked out 3 times. And here comes the man who will want to knock him out for the 4th time, Terry Norris, who in February made his name by conquering Sugar Ray Leonard in Madison Square Garden.
One of the impressive things about Norris, George, I feel, is the fact that he has come back so well from a devastating knockout. A lot of fighters lose their enthusiasm, lose their edge after that happens, and yet he has come back better than he was before that.
Made him a greater counterpuncher, I can tell you that.
He did get reckless. He thought he could conquer the world and found out that you do have to respect your opponents.
You know, a lot of people don't realize that the great Joe Louis was knocked out by Max Mellon.
That's right, before he became a champion.
Came back to be a lot greater, much greater.
Terry Norris enters the ring. Not the world's most impressive record on paper. 3 losses, one of them to a journeyman named Derek Kelly in 1987. There was also a loss by disqualification and the 2nd round knockout at the hands of Julian Jackson in 1989. But he's been dynamite since then, and as you saw earlier, won the championship with a 1st round destruction of John the Beast Mugabe. Tail of the tape for the 2 fighters. Terry Norris weighed in a little light at 151 and a fraction. His camp not surprised and not terribly put off by that. They say he's been light before without any detriment to his fighting ability.
Take a look at our punch stats, which it gives you a sort of a snapshot of how they fight. And for what it's worth, Norris seems to be more active, but Curry has always been a very accurate puncher. Here's a look how often they jab. I would say, looking at those stats, that Curry has to jab more often and probably will against Norris, who is shorter than his last opponent, none. Harold, the rules, please.
Jim, the rules of our first fight tonight are those of the World Boxing Council. 3 judges will score the fight on a 10-point must system. There is no standing 8 count, no 3 knockdown rule, and you can only be saved by the bell in the last round only. Jim?
All right, Harold, let's go up to the ring announcer, Jimmy Lennon Jr., for the pre-fight introductions.
Ladies and gentlemen in attendance and sports fans joining us around the world, we welcome you to the beautiful Radisson Palm Springs Resort as Al Goosen Promotions, Main Events Monitor, and Budweiser, the undisputed king of beers, present a 10-goose boxing event. This co-feature bout is for the WBC Super Welterweight Championship of the World. This bout is sanctioned by the World Boxing Council, President Jose Suleiman, Supervisor Haig Collegiate, along with the California State Athletic Commission, Chairman Charles Westland, Commissioner in attendance Jerry Nathanson, the Assistant Executive Officer Steve English. Presenting the officials as appointed. Physicians at ringside, Dr. Robert Carnes, Dr. Howard Baer. Timekeepers at the bell, also keeping count of the knockdowns, John Lichty and Willie Ariola. Judging at ringside, we have from New York, Carol Castellano, from Puerto Rico, Miguel Donate, and from Mexico, Jose Juan Guerra. And introducing the referee in charge, he'll be working this, his 80th world title bout, Chuck Hassett. All right, fans, here we go. This is it, the bout you've all been waiting for. Our co-main event of the evening, 12 rounds of boxing for the WBC Super Welterweight Championship of the World. Introducing to you first the challenger. On my right, fighting out of the red corner. He's wearing blue trunks and hailing from Fort Worth, Texas. His weight is 154 pounds. His record, 33 wins, 4 losses, with 24 big wins by way of knockout. He is the former 2-time world champion, currently ranked the number 8 contender by the WBC. Welcome a fighter they call the Lone Star Cobra, Donald Curry. And his opponent across the ring. On my left, fighting out of the blue corner, is the defending world champion. He enters the ring wearing white trunks with red trim and representing First Fighters Squadron in Campo, California. His weight is a trim and ready 151 pounds. His record, 27 victories, only 3 defeats, 14 wins by way of knockout. Here is the WBC Super Welterweight Champion of the World, known as Terrible, Terry Norris.
Go, take it off. Take it off, come on. All right, cheap seconds only. Cheap seconds. Okay. Gentlemen, you had your instructions in the dressing room. Are there any questions? Any questions? Okay, mouthpiece. Take your mouthpiece on. Paul, you got his mouthpiece? You got yours, Vincent? Okay. Shake hands, good luck.
I think we should keep in mind throughout this fight that both of these fighters have suffered shock, quick knockouts.
And the temperature has dropped enough that I don't believe desert heat will be a factor. So both fighters should have a chance to show what they've got.
Curry seems to be really cold. Guys can get knocked out in the first and second rounds when they start cold like that.
You mean that his skin is dry and he doesn't look warmed up?
And I can get that look of cold, very cold. It's not warm at all. His body is just a little cold.
Well, let's see if Norris senses the same thing that Big George does about Donald Curry.
Not only is he starting off cold, but he's leaning into a guy who has power.
Leaning in and taking uppercuts in return. You cannot lean in and leave yourself open up the middle, and Curry has taken 2 uppercuts, staggered by a right hand.
People will have the tendency to think, boy, he did it because he's strong, but Curry is actually a little cold. Depending a little too much on his experience, getting to know a guy.
On the occasions when he had Ray Leonard in trouble, Norris got a little wild from time to time.
There's no doubt he's no finisher. He likes to hurt you, stand back and assess his damage. If it's good, he'll try more. If not, he'll just box.
George, has he missed an opportunity here to press what
No doubt.
like?
No doubt. He had the opportunity. It was pretty. He let it get away, but he doesn't mind. He's basically a boxer.
Donald Curry is out there posing, only beginning to offer a little bit of action.
Curry has the old Curtis Coates look. Looked at you, make a mistake, I'll hit you with a good right hand.
Well, he has the style of a classic boxer, good jab, terrific right hand. He was very effective with the left hook in the first 5 rounds against Michael Nunn in his last loss before tiring badly en route to a technical knockout.
He's smart. He's using the middle of the ring. He's not charging the guy any further than the middle of the ring. If he misses it, stays and parry. Puts his left foot in between Terry Norris' legs. That way he guides him like a race car driver would fast car.
Norris again with the uppercut up the middle. Curry has been tagged 3 times that way. Now Curry tries to score up and under. Beginning to loosen up with the jab, but Donald still looks a little stiff. And here goes Norris.
He's being hurt by these 1 shots out of 10 thrown. Just so happened that Norris is not trying to put a knockout punch in him. That Norris has some beautiful trunks. I wish I had the nerve to do that.
I'm not sure that it would look right on you.
What happened to the old bathrobe days?
Well, Tyson tried to bring him back. 10 seconds to go in the round, and you wonder if Larry Merchant isn't right on the money in saying that Terry Norris missed a chance to jump all over an